A Harvard student was found dead in her own apartment, but detectives couldn't find a single clue pointing to her killer. The case made headlines and even sparked some bizarre theories, but the investigation dragged on for decades. Nearly 50 years later, it wasn't the police who cracked the case. It was a group of everyday people who refused to let the truth stay buried. Jane Britton was born on May 17th, 1945, in Boston, Massachusetts. Her father was a vice president of Radcliffe College in Cambridge, and her mom was a scholar in medieval history. So it's no surprise that from a young age, Jane developed a deep interest in history. By the time she was in high school, she'd already decided she wanted to study anthropology. She was a straight A student, played piano, loved to paint, and spent her free time horseback riding. After graduating at the top of her class, she enrolled in her father's college and quickly became one of its standout students. Eventually, her hard work paid off. She was accepted into Harvard's anthropology graduate program, where she started working toward her PhD. In her second year, she got the chance to join an archaeological dig in Iran, working under a well known scholar. She made a great impression and even contributed a few important discoveries. Outside of academics, Jane was well liked among her peers, and she had recently started dating a fellow student named James. On January 7th, 1969, Jane was supposed to take her final exams. She was 23 at the time and looking forward to finally finishing school and starting her career. But that morning, she never showed up. Her boyfriend James thought it was odd. He tried calling her a few times before the exam, but she didn't pick up. No one else, neither students nor professors, had any idea why she was missing. So after class, James decided to walk over to her apartment, which was about 15 minutes from campus. When he got to her floor, he knocked, but there was no answer. A fellow student and mutual friend named Donald, who lived next door, stepped out when he heard the knocking. He said he hadn't seen Jane since the night before, and her apartment had been quiet ever since. James knocked a few more times, but still got no answer. That's when he started to worry. He knew Jane's front door lock was basically broken, so he tried the handle, and the door swung open. Nothing seemed out of place, except for one thing. It was freezing. When James walked into the kitchen, he saw the window was wide open, even though it was the middle of winter. Then he stepped into Jane's bedroom and saw her lying face down on the bed. Her nightgown had ridden up, so he immediately stepped back out and asked Donald's wife to check if Jane was okay. James thought maybe she was just sick or asleep, but when Donald's wife came out of the room, the look on her face said it all. She couldn't even speak. James went back into the bedroom, and that's when he saw it. Jane's face was covered with a rug and a coat. When he lifted them, he realized she was dead. He immediately called the police, and it only took one look for officers to realize they were dealing with a murder. The body was handed over to the medical examiner, and detectives began processing the crime scene. One of the first things they noticed was that nothing appeared to be stolen. Jane's jewelry, cash, and other valuables were still in place, which ruled out robbery as a possible motive. There were also no signs of a struggle, which made investigators think the killer might have caught her off guard, possibly while she was sleeping. That theory was supported by the fact that none of Jane's neighbors reported hearing anything unusual. The autopsy revealed that Jane had been struck multiple times in the head with a heavy object, likely a hammer or a rock. It was also confirmed that she had been sexually assaulted. After speaking with Jane's boyfriend, police learned that the night before, the two of them had gone out to dinner with some other students and then went ice skating. James said he walked her home afterward and left around 11:30 p.m. Donald and his wife told investigators that about an hour later, Jane stopped by their place for a quick glass of cherry wine, and that was the last time anyone saw her alive. According to the medical examiner, she had likely been killed about 10 hours before her body was found, meaning the attack must have happened not long after she returned to her apartment. The apartment didn't give detectives much to work with. Crime scene techs found a few fingerprints that didn't belong to Jane's friends or neighbors, but they couldn't match them to anyone in their records. As for how the killer got in, police had a couple of theories. For one, Jane's front door lock hadn't worked for a while, so someone could have just walked right in. But there was also another way. Jane's window locks were just as unreliable as her door, and even though she lived on the fourth floor, there was a fire escape right outside her apartment, so anyone could have climbed up and slipped in through the window. That theory seemed more likely after detectives talked to everyone in the building and found a kid who remembered hearing noises on the fire escape that night. But there was one problem. He said it happened around 9 p.m., but Jane didn't get home with her boyfriend until almost 11:30. Another witness came forward and said he saw a man running away from the building around 1:30 in the morning. He didn't get a good look at the guy, just remembered that he was about 6 feet tall and had an average build. That account seemed a little more promising since the timing lined up with the estimated time of the murder, but without more detail, there wasn't much police could do with it.